Hello and welcome back. This time we are going to implement a simple UI for our game so we can see how many coins we have collected. Let's get going. To make our UI, we need to create a new layer for our game. So let's go to the layers window and press right click and choose the add layer at top. And then let's call it UI and press enter. So now that we have two different layers in our game, actually we could rename the layer 0 to be game layer. So now we have to be careful if we add new objects to our game that we have the correct layer selected to be active. As if we have the UI active right now, all the objects that we add to the game will be added to the UI layer. And if the game layer is active, all the objects will be added to the game layer. You might forget it sometimes or something like that. You can always choose the object that you have, and here in the common section there is layer option where you can choose in which layer you want it to be. But now that we have our UI layer, we can make the icon for the coins that will indicate how many coins we have. And actually I'm just going to use the SPR_coin. So I'm going to clone it and call it SPR_UI coin. And now with the UI layer active, we can drag it right over here. Now, because this UI coin is on different layer, it should stay on the screen, but currently it's not staying. Let's check. It is on the UI layer. There's one thing we need to change, and it's the parallax parameter here in the UI layers properties. It's 100 times 100, well, percent. And if we put it 0 times 0, then if we now play the game, now the coin will stay on top of the viewport. And the parallax is, like if we click here, the rate at which the layer scrolls in each direction. So the parallax effect is basically the thing that if you have played any 2D platformers before, you might see that the objects that are in the background will scroll much slower than the objects in the front of the view. So that thing is called parallax. And if we put it, let's say like 50 times 50% and play the game, you can see it will a little bit stay, but still lag behind if we start to move this way. So that's why we need to put it 0, so it will stay completely on put. And yeah, now we have the icon over there. Next, we need to add a new object, and this time it will be a text object. So we choose the insert new object and find here text, and let's call it txt underscore money, well, coin amount. And now we can just put it here on this layout. Let's change the origin point to be on left, so it's in the same height as the icon. And then here we can change the text. well, let's put it 0 for now, as we should have only 0 coins when we start the game. Then, well, let's make it bold and center the vertical alignment. And we can make it this a little bit smaller. And, well, we could make the size a bit bigger. Let's say 20. It's maybe a bit too big. 18. That looks good. Oh. Yeah, that looks good. And now, if we play the game, also the text should be following the camera, and it looks like it will do it just fine. And now we need to add few events so that we can update this text to show how many coins we have. So let's jump to the event sheet. And the first event is actually, did we have, no, we don't have any on start of layout event. So let's make a new condition, take the system, and find here something called on start of layout. So every time we start the layout, let's set the text. So the action is, the object of the action is going to be the text object. And here on bottom, there should be set text. And here we could set the text to be anything we want. If we want to write something, it should be inside these columns. But because we want to set it to be the same as the coin amount global variable, we can just write coin amount, which is the name of the global variable, and press done. And now it should, every time we start the game, it should go to 0. We can try it. Let's write something there and start the game. It should be 0 when we start it. Looks like it's working. Well, let's turn it back to 0. And then the other one is that we need to update the text or set the text to the coin amount every time we pick up a new coin. So it's here on top of it. And here we just make a new action. Again, choose the set text coin amount. Here set text, and we do the same. We set it to the coin amount. And here we have to be careful that we do it after we increment the coin amount variable, so that if we would do it before, then we would, the text would show 0 even though we would have 1. And when we get the second one, the text will show 1. So it will be lacking 1 behind all the time. So be careful to have this after where we add 1 to the coin amount. And now if we play the game, and let's check, yeah, we got 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's working properly. And if we start the game, there will still stay the 4 and it will increment. So the other thing we need to do is here on the start of layout. Well, let's not do it on the start of layout. Let's do it when the player dies. So here let's add a new action where we will be setting the value of coin amount to 0. So if we die, we lose all the coins that we have collected. And let's put it before we restart the layout. And now let's try it again. We have 1, we die, and it's again 0, and if we pick 1, it's still 1. So now our UI seems to be working properly, and that should be everything for this episode. Next episode will be the last of this series, where we'll be implementing level transitions so that our game can have multiple levels. I'll see you then.